say it. Um, but when you are in a leadership position or so-called leadership position or executive position, cleanser and mango, it's just certain things that you just supposed to like you don't talk about you don't you don't talk about your people that's putting a check in your pocket. You don't.
The tension that had been building quietly for years has finally reached its breaking point. And this time, there's no turning back. Melody Shari is no longer holding back. No more careful interviews, no more choosing her words lightly. She's speaking out, louder and clearer than ever, and making it known that she's done protecting Carlos King. What once seemed like a strong and successful partnership, something fans supported and admired, has now completely fallen apart. And this isn't just a simple disagreement. It's messy, emotional, and deeply personal. Because according to Melody, the person she once trusted and stood by didn't just misunderstand her. She believes he wasn't being honest. For a long time, viewers only saw what was on the surface, the success, the fame, and the drama that kept everyone watching. But behind the scenes, there was a different story unfolding, one that slowly broke down trust, respect, and loyalty over time. Now, Melody is finally opening up and revealing everything, and what she's sharing is changing the way fans see the entire situation, because this is no longer just about reality TV drama, it's about betrayal, and the truth is starting to come to light. To fully understand why this moment feels so powerful, we have to go back to the beginning, before the tension, before the accusations, and before everything fell apart. Back to a time when Melody Shari and Carlos King were actually on the same side. When the show first began, it wasn't just another reality TV series. It had meaning. It had depth. It focused on real stories, relationships, ambition, personal growth, and everyday struggles. And right at the center of it all was Melody, a woman who brought a level of authenticity that felt genuine, powerful, and impossible to ignore.
Girls trip. So the thing is this, you've been on plenty of girls trips with your cast. Why are girl trips so complicated? Because there's a whole TikTok discussion, Dr. Emily, about this episode and how this episode reflects how girls trips never go right. Why is that?
Because half them really don't like each other. And to me, it's never fair. It's all about who you like and who you don't like. Like, to me, if I like Melody, I'm going to say that she didn't pick up them rooms on purpose. But if I don't like Melody, I'm like, look, she knew what room she put them in, because Destiny, she clearly don't like, because that's Martell's friend, and she put them in. So it's all about who you like and who you don't like, nothing else.
Carlos was the mastermind behind the scenes, the one who knew exactly how to create moments that kept audiences hooked. He understood storytelling in a way that made everything feel more intense, more emotional, and more dramatic. Together, he and Melody seemed unstoppable. Melody didn't just trust him professionally, she trusted him personally. She believed he saw her for who she truly was, not just as a reality TV personality, but as a woman with real emotions, real struggles, and real dreams. In the beginning, that trust felt unbreakable. She opened up her life completely. She allowed cameras into deeply personal spaces. Her marriage, her challenges, her growth, everything became part of the story. But slowly, something began to change. At first, it was subtle. Certain scenes didn't fully reflect what actually happened. Conversations were edited in ways that shifted their meaning. Melody noticed, but like many stepping into reality TV, she gave it the benefit of the doubt. She told herself it was just part of the process. Over time, though, those small concerns grew into something much bigger. The more she gave, the more it felt like her vulnerability was being used against her. As her personal life became more complicated, especially during the breakdown of her marriage, the show began focusing more heavily on her pain. Instead of balance, there was exposure. Instead of protection, there was pressure. And she felt it. Melody began to realize that the story being told wasn't always her truth. She believed there were clear agreements and boundaries about what would and wouldn't be shown, but gradually those lines started to blur. When she tried to speak up, everything shifted. According to her, her concerns weren't taken seriously. Instead of being heard, she felt dismissed. Instead of being supported, she felt pushed to reveal even more. That's when the trust started to break. But here's what makes this even more powerful. She stayed quiet. She didn't go public. She didn't call anyone out. In fact, she did the opposite. She defended Carlos. She protected him, even when things didn't feel right. And she did that for years. The breaking point didn't come all at once. It built slowly, piece by piece, until she finally reached a place where she couldn't stay silent anymore. When Melody finally spoke out, it wasn't vague or careful. It was direct, emotional, and unfiltered. She didn't describe misunderstandings. She called them lies. She revealed that promises had been made behind the scenes, promises about how her story would be handled, how her image would be protected, and how sensitive situations would be treated with care. But as the show grew and the stakes got higher, those promises, she says, began to disappear. What replaced them was control. She felt like she was losing control of her own narrative. Scenes were shaped in ways that didn't reflect her full truth. Moments were edited to exaggerate reactions. Situations were shown without context, making her appear in ways she didn't recognize. And what hurt the most, according to Melody, was that Carlos knew what she was going through. He understood the emotional weight she was carrying. Yet instead of protecting her, she believes he used those moments, her pain, her vulnerability, for ratings. For her, that changed everything, because this wasn't just business, it was personal. She had trusted him, not just as a producer, but as someone she believed had her back. Realizing that trust may have been misplaced hit deeply. She admitted she didn't speak up sooner because she wanted to keep the peace. She didn't want conflict or off-screen drama. She didn't want to damage something she had helped build. So she stayed silent. She covered, she protected, until the silence became too heavy. Eventually, she began speaking, at first subtly, then more openly, until she finally said it clearly. She was done covering for him. That moment sent shockwaves through fans. People began revisiting old episodes, seeing things differently. Moments that once seemed like normal reality TV drama started to feel more calculated and intentional. Of course, not everyone agreed with her. Some questioned why she stayed so long or why she didn't speak out sooner. But healing doesn't always happen in real time. Sometimes it takes distance, sometimes it takes reflection, and sometimes it takes reaching a breaking point. Meanwhile, Carlos hasn't directly addressed her claims in a clear way. His responses have been subtle, focused on storytelling and perspective, but they haven't fully confronted her allegations, and that silence has only amplified the situation. Now, people are choosing sides. What once looked like a successful partnership now feels like a cautionary tale about trust, power, and blurred boundaries. Melody, however, isn't backing down. If anything, she's standing firmer in her truth. She's no longer willing to stay silent just to keep things smooth. For her, peace no longer comes from silence, it comes from honesty. And that truth is finally being heard. Beyond the headlines and social media debates, the emotional toll has been significant. Melody has spoken about how draining the experience has been, not just as a public figure, but as a mother and a woman trying to heal under constant scrutiny. Imagine going through personal struggles while millions watch, judge, and discuss your life. Imagine trusting someone with your story only to feel like it's been reshaped in ways you never agreed to. That kind of pressure doesn't just fade, it lingers. Now she's focused on protecting her peace in ways she didn't before, because at some point, survival becomes more important than image. This feels like a reset for her, emotionally and professionally. She's no longer trying to fit into someone else's narrative. She's creating her own. And while that comes with criticism and backlash, it also brings something powerful: freedom. The freedom to speak, the freedom to choose, the freedom to walk away from anything that no longer feels right. In the end, this story is about more than just Melody and Carlos. It's about what happens when trust is broken in a space where everything is already public. It's about the fine line between storytelling and exploitation. And most importantly, it's about finding your voice after feeling silenced. Melody has made one thing clear. She's not going back. She's not pretending. She's not protecting anyone who didn't protect her. And whether people agree with her or not, one thing is certain. She's standing in her truth, loudly, unapologetically, and without fear. Because sometimes the hardest choices, speaking up, walking away, choosing yourself, are the most necessary ones. And by doing that, she's not just changing her own story, she's forcing everyone watching to look deeper and question what they see. Because behind every moment of entertainment, there's a real person living it. And now that the silence is broken, this may only be the beginning.